everybody, and welcome back to my channel. For those who don't know, I am Dominic Alexandria, and I guess I have a guest, who's just gonna sit out here and just observe me while I make this video. But this is your highness, you guys, and I love him so much. Anyways, let's get to it. So for today's video, I'll be discussing how I passed the Lcsw licensure exam. If you watched my previous video, how I'm surviving COVID-19, you would know that it's been, a little journey getting to this part or getting to this stage of actually taking the licensure exam and passing. So just to give you a quick recap, my original test date for the exam was on March 30th, and it got canceled 2 weeks prior to that because of COVID-19. So I'm like, okay. And the testing site, which we go through, when I say we, social workers, we go through is Pearson VUE. So Pearson VUE put up a statement that they'll reopen testing sites on April 16 and beyond if conditions allow. And they encourage us to reschedule right now. So I rescheduled my exam for April 27th, but guess what? On April 16th, I think it was a few days before even that date, it got canceled again, and then Pearson VUE put up another statement that they'll reopen testing sites on May 1st and beyond if conditions allow. And I'm like, dang, April 27th, May 1st. It's really, it's not that long of a difference. I'm like, I was really like right at the finish line, and then Pearson VUE was like, nope, canceled. So then when I was in the process of rescheduling, I got a freaking June 3rd date. I'm like, oh my gosh, June 3rd? I've been trying to sit for the exam since March, and June 3rd? And it wasn't even in a locality like where I live. It was like a 3-hour, the testing site where I got the June 3rd date was like 3 hours away from where I live. Because all the tests, or I guess all the reserved test dates where I live was just all at capacity. So I'm like, oh gosh, it was a major blow. Trust me, it was. But being the person that I am, I check Pearson VUE website like almost every day, like 5 times a day, to see if any new test availability dates will come up, and sure enough they did. So on May 6th is when I rescheduled my test date. So the day well, before I mention the day of, let me give y'all a little background information, like what does the Lcsw exam consist of. So it consists of 170 questions. 150 of those questions are scored, meaning that there's just 20 toss-in questions into the exam, but you don't know which question is scored and unscored. So it's really like you got to answer all the questions as if they're scored. Number 2, so the test is 4 hours long, and sitting for a test that's 4 hours is killer to your brain. I was exhausted probably like the 10th question into the exam, because the question stems are long. It's not like basic recall questions type where it's just short question and you give you short answers. It's basically the question is like a long case vignette. So you really have to read each question word for word. So anyways, 4 hours. So the day of the exam, and at this point, I felt so prepared to take this exam. I used therapist development centers to prepare for this exam. So for me, I need something more structured to prepare for this. Some people can walk into the exam blind and still pass. I don't want to take those chances or bets. I want to be adequately prepared to sit for this exam. So my therapist, actually, she recommended using Therapist Development Center because she used it and she was able to pass. And my therapist is also an Lcsw. So I'm like, okay, cool. So it's $295, but through my job, my employer was able to pay for this program. $295. It's really structured. It's an online format. You kind of make your own schedule, your own study schedule, or you can follow their study schedule that they have on their website. And it just takes you through like a series of, they give you like a pre-test, lectures, quizzes, like mock exams, the full mock exams that really do mimic the actual test. So when people ask me, Dominique, is Therapist Development Center worth it? Is it worth my money? I would say 100% yes. Without Therapist Development Center, I don't know what I would have done. I probably would have failed. At first, in my study for the licensure exam journey started, I was using the AppGuard book in Pocket Prep, and to be honest, for me, I can't study for this type of exam just through a book. I just felt like, honestly, the AppGuard book was just all over the place. But it's good for like those recall questions on the exam, but a majority of the questions are reasoning based. So a few minority are recall, and you don't want that to be the focus because you're not gonna know everything, to be honest. So, and I didn't really enjoy Pocket Prep. People love Pocket Prep. They're like, if I'm in the line at the grocery store and I have time to kill, I just pull up this app and answer the questions. And again, for me, I just didn't feel like it just adequately prepared me to take the exam. I honestly feel like in order to adequately prepare to take this exam, you have to know how to answer reasoning-based questions. You have to know what the test wants you to answer. Now, how would you answer if this was your job, and how you would do it at your real job or apply it to your real job? But how does NASW, how does ASWB, how do they want you to answer the question, basically? And you had to understand reasoning-based questions. So basically, you really had to know the content of what they're trying to ask, and basically answer in a way that, is reflective mostly towards our ethical values, but also just how they want you to answer, if that makes any sense. So I scored a 131 out of 150, which was just very awesome. It's not like I passed by a hair or anything. I literally did really well. So yes, I highly recommend Therapist Development Center. Number one, it's very structured. Number two, you actually learn as you are studying. Like, I learned tons while I was studying for this exam and applied it to my real job. And it gives you lots and lots of quizzes, practice exams, full mock exams that literally do, like I said, they literally mimic the test. I also purchased the ASWB practice exam from their website, but honestly, I didn't need to do all of that. I guess, when it's like down to the final cut or the raise and you just want to be sure you know it, that's why I purchased the practice exam. But it's not necessary, because honestly, Therapist Development Center, they have really good content on their website for their own practice exams, and they give you 2 practice exams, which is like 170 questions. They time it for 4 hours, so it's really, really, really helpful. And yeah, so that's how I passed the Lcsw exam. I just used Therapist Development Center to study. And also, you have to walk into that type of exam with confidence. It's okay to be nervous. I was a ball of nervous anxiety the day of the exam. My hands were sweaty. I could barely eat anything. I could barely sleep. So it's okay to be anxious, but you don't want to be too overwhelmed when you're walking into that exam. Because mind you, the question stems are long. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, you're gonna, it's gonna affect your test score in the end. Because mind you, this test is timed. So again, the content may seem overwhelming. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, move on to the next question. The test gives you the option to mark on the test, so you can just mark the question, and just move on to the next question. There's no reason for you to spend lots and lots of time on just one question when you still have all the rest of the test to go. So I like it gives you that mark feature, so when you're done with the test or through with the test, you can go back to your marked questions and then focus on those questions more. But that's all. But that would be another recommendation I'll make when you're going through the actual test. Just read the question, answer it, and move on. Don't spend so much time on one question. If you want to go back on that question, I just recommend you marking it first and then still move on. You had to really pace yourself when you're taking this type of exam. It took me 2 hours to get through 170 questions, and it took me another 30 minutes to go through my marked questions. So all in all, it took me 2.5 hours out of the 4-hour time slot I was given, which I thought was pretty good. But again, you really have to pace yourself. You have to read each question stem word for word, because even one word can throw your whole answer choices off. Because you get most of those, what's the best response for the social worker? What's the most appropriate response from the social worker? What's the first thing the social worker should do? What's the next thing the social worker should do? So you really need to focus on what the test is asking you, or what the question is asking you, and you literally have to read each question stem word for word. Again, if someone was to ask me, Dominique, what is your biggest recommendation when sitting for this exam? I would say read each question word for word. Read the last part of the question, which is, you know, mainly like the question, like what should the social worker do, yada yada yada. Make sure your answer choices reflect what the question is asking you originally to. So mainly you really have to know how to answer the question, how to read the question. That will be my biggest recommendation. And I think that's it. So just to recap what we discussed, Therapist Development Center is what I use to study. Recommendation: don't be overwhelmed in the test. You know, it's quite easy because it is an overwhelming test, but you really need to walk in with some sort of confidence that you'll pass. It's okay to be nervous and anxious. That's quite normal, but don't be overwhelmed. Don't just be stuck on just one question. Mark it and move on. And then 4, read each question stem or case vignette word for word and ensure you know what the question stem is actually asking you. Anyways, so that's it for today's video. Just giving you all a few tips of what I used to help or what I used to study for this exam. So right now my main focus is achieving this long-term goal I want to accomplish for the past decade. So I'm in that process now. No, it's not, you know, getting my own private practice. No, it's not doing, you know, just private or counseling or whatever. It's really kind of out the box, but I'm not going to say it right now. But I am getting the ball rolling to achieve this long-term goal. Only a select few people. Oh, I can't talk today. Only a select few people know what this long-term goal consists of, but I'm keeping it hush-hush for now until, you know, things start progressing and seem more promising. Alright guys, so make sure you hit like on this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!